Okay, sure. So how many staff do you have as we wait? As we wait for the court?
Capacity is 366.
Including have regional offices?
That is how you are.
You have regional offices?
Yes, we do. Because titles, every forest, I can confidently tell you now, we will be having a title.
Every forest?
Every forest. We get
a title to someone.
Someone, yes, free or that. If they were easy, we would say, okay, possibly they recognize public land.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Director, and your team, that we found you here. Normally, this is the team from the Inspectorate of Government, and normally, when we are going to launch an investigation, we go without notice. We don't give notice because we don't want people to clean up before we come. And so we do what we call a spot check, and we arrive at 8 o'clock unannounced. And I want to congratulate you because we arrived at exactly 8 o'clock, and all of you are in the office, and the grounds are very well looked after, kept, and the premises are also in very good shape. So I want to congratulate you for that. The Inspectorate of Government is a creation of the Constitution of Uganda under Chapter 13 of the Constitution. Just in case someone say, what are these people doing here? And the functions, among others, of the Inspectorate of Government are provided for under Article 225 of the Constitution of Uganda. And the Inspectorate of Government has 4 main functions. The functions are summarized in 4. The first one, under Article 225 of the Constitution of Uganda, is to foster strict adherence to the rule of law and principles of natural justice in administration. That one is important because the framers of the Constitution the spirit of the framers of the Constitution was that if everybody followed the rule of law, then there would be no corruption. Because corruption arises when people sidestep the law and create cracks in systems that end up in corruption. So our first function is to ensure strict adherence to the rule of law and principles of natural justice. Our second function is to foster the elimination of corruption. And the third function is to implement the Leadership Code of Conduct, which is also established under Chapter 14 of the Constitution of Uganda. Under the Leadership Code of Conduct, leaders are expected to conduct themselves in a manner that befits a leader in the government of Uganda, and if they do that, then they will be accountable, and through that accountability, leaders are required, all government employees are required to declare their wealth, income, and liabilities to the Inspectorate of Government under that function. And the other function is education, research, and advocacy. So we are here empowered by the Constitution. All the government interests, employees, and institutions of government, we have jurisdiction to ensure that they behave according to the laws that govern this country. And it is under that jurisdiction that we are here today to inspect what happens, how it happens, why it happens, why it does not happen. We have jurisdiction over all that. Among the powers of the inspector of government, we also examine omissions. If you're supposed to do something and you didn't do it, omission, advice, commissions, all that, we have jurisdiction to examine them. And so this time around, we came to the National Forestry Authority because of the numerous accounts that we receive from the public through whistleblower accounts, through newspaper accounts, through many other sources. We have come to learn that there's so many things that are going on in National Forestry Authority that are not for the best interest of the citizens of this country. In fact, I'm not going to read them, but if you see this document of how many pages, of almost 10 so many items, they are all cases before my desk of complaints, from procurement to human resource recruitment to management of your mandate and other functions. We received before me so many complaints. So if you see me working with a big team like this team is going to stay here and do a thorough investigation on the workings and functions of NFA. I am good, but we shall require to go with the documents. We don't want to give you time to prepare yourselves. That's why we come with a big team, and it stays here and does the work that it is supposed to do. But I'm going to ask now the director, not in too many details because the details will be here, to guide us on how we are going to. But before the director comes in, I think I'll give an opportunity first to executive director to also respond to what I've said. Except I will conclude by saying, by hoping that you will cooperate with the IGG, because if you don't, the IGG has got enough instruments of authority to deal with any situation that does not seem to support the work that we do. Otherwise, I want to thank you for receiving us, and as I said from the beginning, it's a good start. Sometimes we go somewhere and then they start calling, hey, the IGG is here, and then the ED says, tell her I had a meeting somewhere first. Because then you see the secretary fidgeting, and sometimes even the secretary is not there, the cleaner fidgeting, and people calling, because we are supposed to start work at 8. But I think I'm impressed that we're here at 8, and you are all here. And as I said, the premises are really very well kept. I will ask you to respond that investigates high-profile investigations, especially those of values of over 1 billion shillings. And so this one is classified as a high-profile investigations, and we shall give it very close attention from my office. Mr. I heard you say your name in Man. You know, Maniraguha. Money.
Component is non-tax revenue and administration. Under non-tax revenue and administration, you shall need non-tax revenue for financial year this. Non-tax, which document?
So we also want the sales sources.
Sources,
First.
yeah, streams,
and streams.
revenue streams, under non-tax revenue for these financial years. Donor funds now.
I know what it means. God has given.
Yeah.
Hmm? Okay. God is the one who gives.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the right way now.
Our team will divide themselves, and then they go with specific heads of departments who are responsible for the following items that we shall be interested in. We would like to go with the head of department that is in charge of planted and natural forests, and then he can get us the following details. One, details of all forests in Uganda under the care of NFA. Two, details of forests given to developers to plant trees by NFA. Those people planting artificial trees on these forest reserves. Three, details of forests that NFA has saved.
Not artificial. Commercial.
Commercial.
Artificial like plastic.
Artificial as opposed to the other natural. Three, details of forests that NFA has saved, that is reclaimed from encroachers. We want to see the efforts you have made in that endeavor. The other one is details of person compensated after expansion of forest reserves. Are there any land that has been acquired from the citizens to expand the forest reserves? And if so, are there any compensation on those details? The other one is details of people who have applied to be awarded contracts for tree planting in the forest reserves. Details of people who were not successful for the award of tenders for tree planting. Then we also want to look at your inspection reports on forests that have been degazetted. And any other relevant information related to the management of forests in the country by NFA. Any other, we are not closing.
Can we have a photocopy? Somebody photocopy for the
So,
is this the same as this?
component is non-tax revenue and administration. Under non-tax revenue and administration, we shall need non-tax revenue for financial year this. Non-tax, which document?
So we also want the sales sources.
Sources,
First.
yeah, streams,
and streams.
revenue streams under non-tax revenue for these financial years. Donor funds now, we have already put it there side. National Forest Plan, policy, all the policies, maps of the forest reserves, status of forest cover in Uganda, forest reserve catalogs, policies for allocation of land, staff establishment, training policy, staff list, staff payroll, attendance register, and any other document that may be relevant. And this one is also under Mr. Carrera.
This revenue will be handled by the hectare finance. The forest plan, policies, maps, the status of forest cover.
Mainly, you are right. We are driven by especially public concern. And the public concern is management of forests, mainly settlement in forests, titling of forests which are gazetted to individuals. That's a key of key interest. Allocation of forest land for individual use, that is of key concern. But also, that corruption happens in 70% of the corruption is through procurement. And so we are very keen on the procurement management of the procurement function. And also, another function that we do is the ombuds function, to ensure that people get the quality of work, of services that they deserve. So the public outcry there, like you said, is allocation of forest land to individuals, and and the process that goes into that. And then, of course, here in this schedule that I have here, there are issues about corruption in HR, the way human resource are recruited or they are managed, in procurement, in the use of funds that are received both from government and from donors. We have been wanting to come, but we wanted to have enough time, reserve enough time, so that when we go to a place, we give it our whole attention. Yes, sir. Give some questions to the ED here. You shouldn't go away. The general public. We are doing an investigation. If you have information that will be useful and will add value to this investigation, both the public outside NFA and even within NFA, if it will add value to this investigation, we welcome it. But what we don't want are wars. People use investigations to fight their wars. They are political wars, they are office wars, they are social wars, they are beer wars, they are women wars. They bring them all. But we do thorough investigation. It's not like when you bring a story, we take it as it is. We do thorough investigations. So we do not want people to fight their wars in our investigations. It takes time and resources, and yet we shall come to the truth. Yes, sir.
Thank you. The investigation.
The President has many times, not just in this case, has referred cases to the Inspectorate of Government. The President has referred cases. Even the First Lady and ministers have referred cases. Sometimes even accounting officers have referred cases for us to investigate. So there's a lot of goodwill in the work we do. We have had accounting officers who have referred cases for us to say there's a problem in my institution, come and help, because they don't have an investigative arm, and we do that. So while the President has not given us any information on NFA, he has actually actively referred cases to the IG for investigation.
My question was not answered the number of the...
We are killing two birds with one stone. And a spot check can be confined to what you are looking for. I called it, we do a spot check. So we go to an institution, unannounced, and then we see how things are working. And then we have got all this list of things. We shall see how much we can get today. That tells us the preparedness of the institution. That means, talks about record keeping, efficiency, and bookkeeping, record keeping efficiency. So in asking for this information today, it's part of establishing the preparedness or the efficiency of the institution. And then we shall go and investigate, we interrogate. Interrogating these things is an investigation. So I really don't think that you should say, no, please. Don't say inspection or investigation. They go together.
The number of complaints?
You see, we get a lot of complaints. For instance, I'll tell you on this schedule, in the period we are covering, we're talking about 34. About 34. And there are many places, Kabarore, Kampala, Mbarara, Mukono, Soroti, they come from all the Mayuge, Bududa, Kabale, Mpiji, Koboko, Chikube, Nuoya. You know, they come from all over the country, but you can crush them into maybe two big topics, like forestry management, like general administration, finance administration. So, but for the list I have now on my table is actually 34 complaints.
Don't think we've lost the battle, because we still hold the mandate. So we use all the avenues available to us to be able to address those challenges. I talked about how we've reported about them. Even IG has also our report. We have asked the IG to come in and support on issues of illegal titling. And we have also, where we have not been able to reach, used the media to be able to broadcast the magnitude of the problem. So we still do implement our mandate, and using all avenues possible. We do not accept to easily lose ground unless on incidences where courts have pronounced otherwise against us. Thank you.
Thank you. You wanted to know what
This is the arrangement of forest management in Uganda, because that will also help to, when we are addressing issues of forest cover encroachment, we get to know where it falls. Now, the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act categorizes forests in Uganda as 5. So, here now, the biggest challenge comes in, where now someone wants to open land, like we saw in I gave an example of Hoima sugar in Bugoma. They clear. You go in, you stop them, but now the enforcement becomes a problem. NFA, our capacity is 366 staff. That man, coordinator law enforcement, sitting in for the director natural forest, is a law enforcement man with no gun. So the guns he depends on are for police and UPDF, where he has no command and control. So that also brings in a bit of issues in terms of implementation of that. So now, of course, as the resources get depleted outside, now we get pressures on the forest, which we are seeing improving and disturbing. But the biggest now that we are seeing is the agitation on access to land in gazetted Central Forest Reserves, where titles are being created left and right, freehold titles.
in gazetted land?
In gazetted Central Forest Reserves.
But the president ordered for them to be cancelled.
Honorable, yes, the president has ordered, but we need to check the rate of implementation. Possibly that's an information we can give.
Who is supposed to cancel?
Yes, to cancel is Minister of Lands. But lands does not cancel immediately. They say it's a process.
They have a process.
It's a process.
Yeah, of course there will be a process.
And this process starts from somewhere. So we have been writing about them. New Vision, you had a headline on Saturday, big one, the face of it, and these are titles on the Central Forest Reserves. So we are struggling now. While we have been struggling to save a tree, we are also struggling to save pieces of land. So, Honorable, we are glad that you have really found time to come in. We feel this will give justice to the natural resources. I have clearly been telling my colleagues and even the public whenever I appear in a place that we need much more this environment than it needs us. Our survival depends on it. But we have just focused on what we can do and survive today and forget the future, which is not actually the longer future, the near future. Because the impacts of climate change are now very evident. I was telling when I appeared on NTV, I told them it is no longer climate change. It's climate changed because things changed already. You can't tell people to go and sow seed now. No one can confidently say this is the season. All of these things changed. The temperatures, pollution, everything. So hopefully your intervention will be able to help this country in terms of reclaiming its own resources. If those on private land and communal lands clear their own, at least the Central Forest Reserves should stay. Those that have been encroached on, people should leave. The other day we were in Muwende. We tried to remove people from the forest. Things happened. Our then minister here said, no, first go slow. We said, but we are not evicting, we are taking over reclaiming the forest. The Minister of Lands was reported 2 days ago to have said in Muwende that NFA should not remove people. So at times we fail to find what to do. So some of the things we are also going to cooperate and give you. We have problem forests. They appear in our statutory instruments, but we are not in charge. Any attempts to go there, we get resistance. And this resistance in most cases is political. Because we are asked, where do you want all these people to go?
My team, my name is Beti Kamya Turuomwe. You know, they keep saying the IGG is here, but I have a name. It's called Beti Kamya Turuomwe, and I'm the team leader at the Inspectorate of Government. And I came with my team, led by Mr. Pole Muhirwe. Mr. Muhirwe is the Director for Special Investigations. And an investigation like this one has been classified as a special, not special, as a special investigation because they do high-profile investigations. High-profile investigations is where investigations are of values over 1 billion shillings. So an investigation in NFA is classified as a high-profile investigation and falls under our Directorate of Special Investigations. We also have the manager with whom who deputy. The more cooperative you are, the less time we shall take. Because if we have to dig information out of you, then we give summons, then we can even prosecute, we can even interdict. We have so many instruments at our disposal to make sure that we get the information. If you are difficult and you are hiding information, we interdict you so that you step aside and allow the investigations to go on well. We have all the instruments we need to ensure that we do a thorough and objective and qualitative and fair and objective investigation. And that's what we shall do. But we've discussed that with the team will be here and management. What I want to talk about briefly, and very briefly because I have another engagement in town at 11, is the subject of corruption. That's why I said, the director, can I talk to all the staff? Ladies and gentlemen, we did a scientific study and we established that Uganda could be losing up to 10 trillion shillings per year to corruption. 10 trillion. Last financial year alone, all of us in Uganda, we collected taxes worth 25 6.5 trillion. That is the total number of taxes, domestic revenue, that we collected. Can you imagine, out of 25 trillion, 10 trillion is expected to have been lost to corruption. And this means lost to a few people, very few people, and their cronies who take our money. And that money supports very few people, while the majority of us suffer. That is why people must understand that corruption is evil and is hurting all of us. When you go to Mulago and there's no medicine, it is not because government does not have money. Government has got money, and when it's not enough, we go to our friends, development partners, we get a loan, and if it is not enough, we even get a grant. Government has money. But when you go to Mulago and there's no medicine in the hospital, it means that the people who were given money to buy medicine, they did not buy medicine. They put it in their pockets. They started building mansions. They started taking their kids to schools abroad. They started living lifestyles beyond their known sources of income. That's why we call upon everybody to get involved in the war against corruption. Because if we don't, it will catch up with you. One day, you are the one who will go to Mulago with your loved one, and your loved one will die because there's no medicine. Not because there's no money, because there's no medicine in the hospital. And this rich man, your friend, whom you see as a good man, he will come and kukua mabugo of about 500,000 to help you carry the body. And you will call him a very good man, and even mention him in your speech at the funeral, and say, if it wasn't for this man, I would not have been able to bring the body from the hospital. And you make him rise, and you pray for him and for God to bless him and give him some more. But if this man had not stolen money for medicine, your loved ones would not have died, and you would not be speaking about Mabugo Atulumbe. Mutegede banange. So corruption hurts us. You may not know that it hurts you, but one day you are driving on a road which was badly constructed because of corruption. They recruited an engineer who is not a good engineer, who is not worth because of corruption. He constructs a bad road, and as you are driving, happily going home, you collapse at the at a bad turn. Corruption has a kunoze. Corruption has found you at that dangerous corner. Corruption has found you in that dangerous corner, and you are the one who has done what? Who has died. So, corruption hurts us very much. Almost all the ills we have in Uganda, you can trace them back to corruption. The bad roads, the lack of electricity throughout the country, the lack of water throughout the country, the lack of medicine, the quality of services, the pain you are suffering, you can trace all of it to corruption. That is why we are engaging people and ask everybody to get involved in the war against corruption. I'm not expecting you to go arresting people. No. Your role is to bring information to the institutions that are empowered to fight corruption with the instruments of authority. The Inspectorate of Government is armed with the instruments of authority, the Constitution and the Inspectorate of Government Act. Those are the institutions of authority we have to prosecute, to summon, to search, issue search warrant, to take statement, to interdict, to do all those things. We have the instruments of authority. You don't have the instruments of authority, but you have information. And information is the key ingredient in this war against corruption. Are we together, ladies and gentlemen? So if you have information, even in this investigation, if you have information that will add value to the investigation, please give it to these people. This is the chance. This is the time. But don't give false information. Don't fight office wars. Don't fight political wars. Give us correct information that will add value to this investigation. Then we can clean up. Or information about anything else. This is the opportunity that you have to have a face-to-face contact with the information, with the Inspectorate of Government. Normally what happens, one day I went to National Medical Stores and I was talking to staff like this. And I said, you people, you should recognize yourselves as victims of corruption. And I also told them that the people who are normally have access wrongly to public resources are also the people who are enjoying even the little resources which they leave. Do you understand? So I said, the people who have access to corruption, who take the money for the medicine, for the road, who sell forests when they shouldn't, and enrich themselves. But we are the ones also who are in offices driving government vehicles with free fuel, with free medical, with the free, they call it what? Assured salary. They are the people who even benefit from the little which remains. And I even told somebody, they don't even know the price of fuel. When they're discussing the increased price of fuel, they don't even know because they're driving free vehicles. But you who doesn't drive a free vehicle, you are the one who doesn't have insurance. You are the one who will go to Mulago Hospital because you can't afford the NSS Manya Nakasero Hospital. You are the one who can't go to India. But you are also the one, when they say, let me get this big fish and take him to court, you are the people who will demonstrate. They are the people who demonstrate. President, leave our man alone. Leave our woman alone. If you don't leave him alone, because he bought you a coffin of 500. But he took billions of shillings for the medicine. Now for you, he bought you a coffin of 500,000. Now you're saying, President, if you don't allow me to, if you take our man, we shall take, I saw them taking off NRM t-shirts and burning them because the president was fighting with a person who was suspected of corruption. So people, Baganda say,